في مقابلة صرح وزير الخارجية الإيراني السابق جواد ظريف بأن تحقيق إسرائيل للنصر في أي حرب مستقبلي مستحيل، وأشار إلى أن حزب الله يمارس ضبط النفس رغم التوترات المتصاعدة، مما يشير إلى أن المواجهة المحتملة قد تكون أعنف مما يتوقعه البعض. إذا كنت مش مشترك في القناة بدعوك للاشتراك في القناة وتفعيل زر الإشعارات حتى يصلك كل جديد.
Iran has exercised restraint when Israel conducted military operations against Iran, conducted terrorist operations, killing the leader of Hamas, who was attending the inauguration of our president, of all things, and we exercised restraint. We believe that Hezbollah is capable of defending itself. It has been exercising restraint in not doing so. It is the responsibility of the international community to come in before Hezbollah has to take its defense into its own hands, and maybe the situation will get out of hand at that time.
The Israelis have said that this offensive is to separate Hezbollah's support for Hamas. Iran has influence with Hamas as well. Are you trying to get Hamas to agree to a ceasefire?
Well, I think Hamas has agreed to a ceasefire. It's been Netanyahu and the Israeli government who have refused all along, even refused the calls by the United States to engage in ceasefire. Who has been vetoing resolutions in the Security Council calling for ceasefire? Has it been the supporters of Hamas or the United States supporting Israel? So even the claim that somebody needs to push Hamas to accept ceasefire is ridiculous, because everybody knows that Netanyahu depends on this war in order to continue to survive. And Israel has conducted this war with the hope, with the illusion of winning this war, which is impossible.
On October 7th last year, Hamas created atrocities by invading Israel proper and killing civilians. And I remember after the 2006 Hezbollah-Israel war, Hassan Nasrallah said that if he knew the result of what would have happened, after he essentially took actions that created that war, he never would have done it. I mean, Lebanon was devastated, it was terrible. Do you think do you support what Hamas did against civilians in Israel, against children, women?
Well, nobody supports actions against civilians, and Hamas certainly has been on the record saying that it does not support such actions. The history did not start on October 7th. Israeli atrocities in Gaza, basically putting a huge number of people in the most populated place on the face of the earth in an open prison for so long, depriving them of access to anything, basically, to basic necessities, has been an ongoing process. Occupation of Palestine has been going on for 70 years. A system of apartheid in Palestine has been going on for many decades. So history did not start on October 7th, and it's not for us to decide whether the price that Palestinians are paying was worth the fight. It's for the Palestinians to decide. And if you look at the polls in Palestine, Hamas's popularity has increased rather than decreased.
It's going down a bit, and we're hearing a lot of people in Gaza who are really fed up, and who blame them too for bringing this terror on their heads, this hell.
You see, there is a variety of opinion everywhere, but the polls indicate that the general popularity, both in the West Bank and in Gaza, has increased. So these are the realities on the ground. The Palestinians have to decide whether it was worth it or not, but it is for the international community to end this vicious circle, which will never have a victor. Israel will never be able to win this war, period. And Netanyahu has to recognize this and understand this.
So what they say is that we have no option because Iran is the big devil in the region. In other words, supporting all these Iran-backed, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's the Houthi, whatever it is, Hamas, all those things, and that even the end of occupation would not stop your desire to quote-unquote wipe Israel off the state, the map. Is that still Iran's aim?
If there is an end to occupation, if the Palestinians are satisfied with their situation, no amount of persuasion by anybody can change the situation and can push them into fighting. They're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their freedom. Give them freedom. Give them back their land. And you will see that this ends. Now, Iran does not have an extermination policy. Iran's suggestion for the region is to have a referendum, so in which the Palestinians, the Jews, the Christians, whoever lives there, the Muslims, and whoever has been uprooted from their land, to vote, allow them to determine their destiny. Now, some people will say that would mean pushing the Jews into the sea. Did that happen in South Africa? But they were saying exactly the same thing. You and I have been around for long enough to know that in the 1970s and 1980s, they were saying that if there is a non-racist, non-apartheid regime in South Africa, all the whites will be thrown into the sea and the communists will come in and take over the country. Is it what happened in South Africa? It didn't. So the fear-mongering policies of the Zionists are simply there to continue this act of genocide and occupation and oppression.
In the meantime, since the Trump administration basically pulled the United States out of the Iran nuclear deal that you and your government negotiated with then the Obama government, you have gone ahead in leaps and bounds, and you could be this close to the ability for nuclear breakout. Your foreign minister, who was your deputy back then, has said this week that he's willing to, and Iran is willing to enter talks again in terms of a nuclear agreement if other parties, I guess the United States, is willing. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you see, I think you answered your own question. Trump withdrew from the deal. At that time...
But Biden tried again.
No, Biden continued Trump's policy. To be absolutely honest with you, I don't like to say it, but the policy of the United States has not changed since President Biden took office. But the point is the United States safer because of Trump's withdrawal? Iran was abiding by the deal. Based on American intelligence, I don't buy that, but based on American intelligence, Iran was a year away from breakout. Now American intelligence says Iran is days away from breakout.
Are you?
Who caused this? We don't want to break out. We do not want to break out because we do not believe that nuclear weapons are in our security, in our interest, and will augment our security. But the question is, if the United States feels more threatened today, what is the cause? Is it us or is it Trump's withdrawal? And why did Trump withdraw? Because of Israeli pressure. He has said it himself. Netanyahu has said it in his book that his number one priority was to push the United States out of the deal. Is the world safer today than it was in 2015? That is the question that needs to be answered. Now, how can we go back to status quo ante? By the United States returning to its obligations under the JCPOA, accepting that it had made a mistake. And I think what our foreign minister has said is something that is achievable, provided that we understand that the United States, that the Trump administration took a very dangerous step